Today we have Soli Cayetano, who is a fabulous real estate investor, also known as Lattes and Leases on Instagram, and the founder of Out of State Investor Academy. I'm so excited to have you on this call today. I know you've done so much and even just closed on a boutique hotel, which is so awesome. Can't wait to chat about it and just tell everyone about your story. So welcome to the show, Soli.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited, and your energy is so contagious.
Thank you.
More color today.
Oh my gosh, you're so.
I feel like I'm a little white and black compared to you. So bright and colorful.
Your backdrop is beautiful, though. I love the green. It's
Thank
just
you.
like peaceful.
I built it myself.
I love. Is that in a rental?
Yes. Yeah. It's honestly, it's just it's just plywood.
You're like, I promise it's not permanent. I can take it down.
It's very temporary. Honestly, I saw it on Instagram and I was like, that's an easy fix for my background.
Yeah, no, that's fabulous. I'm like, so I'm trying to buy a place in Colorado right now, but like, it's a fun adventure. So I'm like, do I just get a rental for a while? But I'm like, I need somewhere where I can like move, like everywhere I move into, I decorate like during the first week, everything's up and ready to go. It needs to feel homey. And I'm like, do I really want to go back to living in a rental? I don't think so.
There's a lot of cool things. I know a lot of people ask me because I own a lot of properties and they're like, why the heck do you rent your like place you live in? But I have a very strong opinion on that. We can talk about it. But in general, I feel like there's a lot of great YouTube videos these days on like ways to customize your apartment if you're renting that are landlord approved. And so I feel like even though it's not a forever home, like there's still ways to make it feel like your home.
Totally. No, I completely 100% agree with that. And I mean, honestly, to start off, who is Soli though? Like this is before the rentals, before the businesses, before the Lattes and Leases. Who were you? How did you like get started in life?
Just a girl born in the Bay Area, California. How deep do we get? No. I was born and raised in the Bay Area, California, which is why it's like so expensive to own a house here. And so like I grew up in I would say lower middle class family who didn't know a thing about investing in real estate. My dad was like a kind of spender. My mom was like a saver, but nobody was an investor type of thing. And so when I got into college, I was a finance major, and which is just funny. I feel like it's not my personality, but it was a very practical degree. But because I was a finance major and I had some experience in residential real estate, just weirdly enough in high school, I ended up joining the Real Estate Association, like the club for real estate people in college. And
I love that.
I know, very, very nerdy, but it was fun. I actually became the president when I was a senior, which was cool. But I got a job when I was a sophomore. I got a job from someone inside the association who was working in commercial real estate brokerage. And basically like leasing office spaces is the easiest way to describe it. And so when I was a sophomore, like I just kind of needed a paycheck, needed to pay the bills. And I said, sure, I have no real interest in commercial real estate, but I'll take the job for the paycheck. I stayed there for like 4 years and I loved it. I didn't expect to love it. It did not really teach me much about investing per se, but it gave me a lot of confidence in like carrying myself and speaking the language of real estate and a lot of great connections. And so I kind of took that when the pandemic hit. I was a senior in college and I was going into full-time commercial real estate office leasing. And then like basically the world shut down and you're basically paid on commission. And there was a very realistic possibility that I would make no money in the foreseeable future. Try to convince someone to lease an office space in a pandemic. It's like,
and no one's moving. No one's moving.
No one knows. Like I actually went from like, I did a lot of deals when I was in college, but I ended up just shifting to writing memos, like hundreds of memos to companies of like, what does the world look like in the new office? Like, and I was like, this is not making me any money. And so I said, in the interim, I'm going to, because you don't get paid unless you do a deal type of thing. So the memos are just client relationships. And so I ended up I knew something about real estate, and I said, okay, like I don't really like the world of stock investing. It feels very much like the market changes when it feels like it, and I don't have any control of that. And so I said, okay, the next best thing is real estate, and I know a little bit about it. I joined the real estate association. Some of my friends had like bought rental properties, and I thought that they were absolutely crazy until it came time for me to do it. And then I was like, okay, well, like just show me how you did it.
Yep.
So that was like almost my pandemic hobby per se. Like I did the pizza thing and the baking thing. And then afterward, I was like, I guess I'm buying a house. So I bought a house and kind of documented along the way. Didn't realize like honestly what I was doing. And I feel like that's probably, unless you have a parent in real estate, like that's most people's stories. Like we stumbled and fumbled through the first one, made a lot of mistakes, realized that it was like insane that no matter what you were doing, money was coming in. Like it was a big kind of like light bulb moment that like, what do you mean I still get a quote unquote paycheck, like a check in the mail for whether I was on vacation or sitting at my desk. And so that was kind of what changed my mindset and what it like. I maybe want to just funnel all of my active income into passive income to continue to grow my portfolio.
Yeah, no, I love, there's so many good nuggets here that you talked about. So number one that I actually wanted to talk about is I can just tell from the beginning, like you kind of have this go-getter personality. And it was so funny. I was literally on a podcast episode just earlier today with someone who was similar, just like has a really good like go-getter personality. And you tend to go into something that is very traditional, be it finance or engineering or doctor, because that's what you like think you're supposed to do. And it seems safe. It seems like, the path. But it's so funny because I see this with a lot of, especially like women, like young women who have that go-getter personality is, I don't know about you, but I kind of got bored, like just in the corporate space. It felt like things weren't changing enough. There weren't enough problems to solve. I guess it was a little different for you because, you had the pandemic happen. But I guess, because once you had started purchasing your properties, were you still working that corporate job before? And like, what made you transition out of it?
Yeah, I was working. So I started working as a sophomore. I kind of got obsessed with working and I just loved it. I was learning more from working than I was in my finance degree, as you can imagine, because I was basically doing financial underwriting for like big real estate deals. And so like effectively I'm learning, but like not going to class type of thing. And so I basically worked full time my junior and my senior year. And then I stayed for about a year after that. But when I quit, I scaled very quickly for good or for bad. It set me free from my day job. So like, I think I had maybe 25 units that I bought in my first 15 months of investing. And so I quit my job after that. I hadn't like per se replaced all of my day job income, but from a combination of like, I had learned how to flip some properties. I had some rental income coming in. I started to do like a little bit of coaching for real estate. And I was like, as a whole, this ecosystem looks more promising than this commercial real estate field where people are still not sure if they want to live in an office or if they want to go fully remote. And so I was like, I think I can maybe make a name, like I can, build my business. In the worst case scenario, I can come back.
Yeah.
And they'd probably rehire me because you're based on commission. So not like they were paying you a salary. And so I think that's like a lot of people say is like, when you're thinking about quitting your job, it's your worst case scenario is where you are today. Yeah. It's going back to the exact same job you're having and maybe your tail was between your legs type of thing because maybe it didn't work out, but like really that's not that bad of a situation.
No, that's so fair. And so out of curiosity, because you said that finance is not your personality. So why did you even go into, why did you go into finance?
Funny enough, so I got into the business school. I had no idea what I wanted to be like when I grew up. And so every college I applied to, I had a different major. And I just said, like, the universe will tell me what I'm supposed to major in.
Love that.
But like, it was very varied. Like, in UCLA, my major was like international business, which is kind of related, but like more like international affairs type of thing. I got in, didn't like the vibe. My like UC Davis major was like agricultural engineering.
Okay.
very niche out there. And when I got into Santa Clara University, which is where I went, I was at a business school major because you had to apply to the school. And they gave me a full ride, which is why I ended up going. Like I got a full scholarship and I was like, all right, $0 to go to college. Like I'm in. And so when you were looking at the different degrees, this is so bad, but this is what my thought process was. Marketing had like 11 additional classes and I was like, And like finance had 6 additional classes and that was the easiest degree to get.
That's so funny. Oh my goodness.
So that's why I was a finance major. But to be fair, I mean, I learned a lot. I think it was good. It's good for my resume. People like to see that I was a finance major. I was a sustainability minor, which meant that like I loved those classes. I took like sustainable construction and like garbology and study of garbage. I was pretty much almost a studio arts minor, but I missed it because of COVID and I couldn't take my last sculpture class. But like I loved going to my art classes. It's just, I feel like when you get into business school, it's like very difficult to transfer. And so I ended up just picking, as bad as it sounds, the easiest major. And I think it has served me well though, because I can do financial analysis and it was my job for a long time. Do I love looking at spreadsheets? No, but I feel like it enabled me to have at least a base understanding of how finances work and how to explain it to people. Yeah. And so I know a lot of people would say like, college wasn't that helpful, but I think it was very helpful in that sense, as well as the job opportunities it opened up.
Totally. And it just helps build credibility too. So like I majored in chemical engineering, also not my personality. But it's so funny too, because I remember when I was an engineer and I told people that I was an engineer, they were like, wait, what? And now I tell people what I do and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, you do not seem like a chemical engineer to me.
No, and I even got my master's in engineering and technology management as well. Like I went the full route. But the nice thing is that it really does, like, as much as I like wasn't a normal quote unquote engineer, like I got through, I did very well. And it does give you that credibility, right? In terms of like, oh, she kind of knows what she's doing, right? Like she's quote unquote smart. Is that subjective? 100%. Does it actually play into things? Yes and no, right? Like it's like you still have that analytical brain, but it's like every experience that you have, you can take and use it and put it to good use. And it's just like understanding how it correlates to other businesses too.
Yes. I'm so glad I have that background because it is very, very helpful. I'm just glad that, day to day, that's no longer my role. I did it for a long time. Like when I had my first rental property, I did it all. Like I did the financial analysis. I vetted my team. I managed the renovation. And as I've grown my portfolio, I've been able to release some of the things that I no longer want to focus my time on. And one of those things happens to be like financial underwriting.
I 100% feel that.
Yes. And I am able to interpret it and I love to look at it and interpret it and look at the final result. But I think that's one of the amazing things about growing in your skill set and understanding like what you're uniquely good at is also understanding that you don't have to do everything. You can focus on the things that you're best at and find other people and partners to kind of support you along the way.
100%. And so I love too that you talked about how, even in your college days, you really liked the arts too, right? And it just shows like you had these other sides of you that you like wanted to tap into, but maybe didn't think it was totally feasible. Like, it wasn't going to lead to a lucrative career or whatever. But it's so funny because those are some of the skills that like you can probably use going forward, especially with your business. I know like you're very cohesive and your colors are put together and it's like, it's a part of the brand and how that really can like play into things and make things just better for you in the future.
Yeah, you never know how it all kind of fits together, but hindsight's kind of 20/20. So every step of the way is like exactly where it's supposed to be.
Exactly. I love that. And so for your first property, how old were you when you got your first property?
I was 22. So I was fresh out of college. I was I think when I got under contract, I hadn't graduated yet. And then I graduated and then I closed. So that was kind of fun. I flew out there. So I bought it in Cincinnati, Ohio, because everyone always is like, that's so random. But I'd gone to Cincinnati for work maybe like 6 months before. And I had met an investor who owned, 7 or 8 rental properties. And so he mentioned it and I was like, well, that's cool. And I did not really think like twice about it until I got serious about investing in real estate. And I was like, well, it's too expensive where I live. I can't really qualify for anything here. Well, I have to invest elsewhere. So I was like, where do I have some sort of competitive advantage to pick a market? And I immediately said, okay, well, I know him. Like Mark can help me. So I jumped on a call and he kind of showed me around Zoom and said, okay, like, invest in this area, but not in this area. And here's my realtor contact and like, she can help you out. And so really it was as simple as that. I don't think that I understood fully like how to do an in-depth market analysis. I just knew that if I found somebody who was successful in the market that I wanted to be in, that would be my leg up. And it fit my budget. I'd gone there and it was like so lively. Honestly, I was very surprised. I was like, wow, like things are happening. There's so many young people. The restaurants are amazing. Like everyone has a dog. And so like if people want to be here, like this place is growing, like there's a lot of construction around. And so in my head, it was more so like it made logical sense that this would be a place that I wanted to invest. And then the houses were like $100,000. So I bought my first house for $98,000 and I put $15,000 into it. But the market, I started investing at a very opportune time when they're at 3.5% interest rates and property values were just kind of going up very fast because of it. Mm-hmm. And so within 6 months, my property appraised for $155,000. And I was like, well, this is amazing. Like, what do you mean? I just created like $40,000 of equity. And so that's kind of how I like learned. It was an unintentional burr, but I realized I could burr it and pull out all of my money. And I was like, this is awesome. I'm just going to do this like again and again and again.
I love that. And yeah, it's so funny too, because like either I feel like for that first property or even their second, third, either you like fail really hard on the first property where it's just like a complete mess, or it's something where like, I know for me, my first property was actually like a slam dunk deal. It was so good. I was like, damn, this works. This is amazing. I am a genius. Let's keep doing this. Right. And I think like the important part there though, is to really surround yourself with other real estate investors who can kind of like keep you level, right? Because you're either going to be like super excited or super sad about that first deal. I feel like
I was like, honestly, so that's a longer, like that's 6 months later that it appraised for that. And so like in the moment, I didn't feel like it was that slam dunk of a deal. Like I had flown out there and slept on the floor and I had painted the place myself and it sucked. And then I hired a contractor and he's like, we got to do it again. Like, this is too bad.
Oh,
and
no.
I'm like, what? No. And then like little things would pop up. Like I didn't budget for the electrical panel to be upgraded, but then it needed to be upgraded. And I was like, I don't even know what an electrical panel is. It's like stuff like that. And then like I had to fire my property manager because like they weren't leasing my property. But then I fired them and I learned how to run my own property. Within 2 or 3 days, I was like, I got a tenant. That was easy. And so it was not like bumps free, I guess. Yeah. But after like it was all said and done, I feel like honestly what carried me through was not the revenue or the money. It was more so like the community that I had around me telling me like, you did something spectacular. You bought your first rental property.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's so difficult for people who don't have voices in their circle that are saying, you're doing the right thing. The risk is all worth it. Delayed gratification. Think about yourself in 20 years. Like you're going to be stoked you bought this property, even if you made a million mistakes today. And so because I had like kind of vlogged the whole thing on Instagram, and people around me were like really rooting for me. Those were like all the voices inside my head said like, you are doing the right thing. And I think that's really what like changed everything for me is like my priorities changed, my goals changed, my friends changed. And now like I kind of adopted what like their value set was and said, I'm going to just like go all in on these things. And as like a chronic overachiever, that's just like, it's like I wanted to people please in the best way possible. And it ended up resulting in me growing my portfolio faster than I could have even like imagined for myself.
Yeah. So I guess like, what does your portfolio look like now? And like, how have you grown it?
Yeah.
Like,
so I
how
scaled
long has
very
it taken?
fast. So the first year I bought like 25 units.
Oh my gosh.
And I like say that because all of them were value add. So meaning all of them needed construction, and I had no background in construction, zero. And so like imagine at the very peak of like how we had like 21 units going out once. And like for someone who has no project management experience, no construction experience, like it was so stressful. And I don't know, it let me quit my job very quickly, but I don't know if I would recommend approaching it in the same way as if I was like coaching someone today.
Totally.
Today I have somewhere around like 45 or so units that are in my portfolio. I've done a 64 unit syndication. So I'm a general partner in like a big multifamily property. Sometimes people count that in their unit. I just don't know how to count that.
Right.
Because I
only
like,
have percentage?
I own like 30% of 30%. So like 3%. And so, but like I put the deal together. And so, you know, there's that. And then I just bought a boutique hotel. It's 13 units last week. And so I've been asking people like, does that count as 13 units or one? No one has a good answer. I guess I would say probably 13, but I feel like it makes sense to separate them and say, here are the long-term rentals, mid-term rentals. And like, here is our luxury hospitality company that we're building that has like this many keys.
That's exactly what I would do. Because it's just not the same product at the end of the day. Like, it's really not.
So I'm really excited about that. I feel like what I told myself when I was building my portfolio is I wanted a really steady base of what I call like boring cash flow. It's just like properties I probably wouldn't want to live in. Maybe some of them I would. I have lived in some of them. But like long-term rentals, maybe we have like six midterm rentals, flip some properties, but they're all pretty much like boring, you know, beige, grayish type of properties, like really like subway tile sort of things. And so I wanted to get to a place where there was a level of security of every month this is coming in, and that allows me to take bigger risks in the type of investments that I then want to do. And so I always told myself like someday I'll get there, someday like I'll buy something fun. And then like I just don't I don't know. I like blinked and Sunday was here, and I was like, I cannot believe that we bought a hotel, and it's honestly been the most fun experience so far in my entire, maybe besides my first property, like the most fun experience to like design and think and brainstorm and figure out like how we can create the most unique hospitality experience in Palm Springs. It's like, I'm just so excited about it.
Okay, y'all, do I have something exciting for you? Now, I just came out with a brand new free training on exactly how you can get started investing in real estate within the next 3 months. Because if you're someone who wants more freedom in your life, the ability to travel the world and do the things that you actually want to do in life, you're going to want to listen up. Trust me. Now, this training is freaking awesome. I literally go in and spill the tea on the number one strategy that is working right now, like literally today in today's market. And I go over how to look at deals and make sure that they actually cash flow, and how to set your properties up so that you can run them from anywhere in the world. Like I literally have managed my properties from over 6 different time zones. So if you are stuck in analysis paralysis, you don't know where to start when it comes to real estate investing, but you know that it's something that you want to do in the future, this training is going to be for you. So to check it out, click the link in the show notes or DM me the word hack, like HACK on Instagram, and I will send you the link. Now let's dive back into the show. I love that. Yeah, no, I always say like build your boring baseline so that it supports your passion projects, because like everyone kind of wants to jump right into the passion projects. But if you don't have like, and it could be that your boring baseline is just your W-2 job. Like, I think it's, depending on what you want that to look like for you, but especially from a real estate standpoint, if you can just kind of like for a couple of years, build up that baseline so that you feel comfortable and you feel like you can, now you have the leverage too, to be able to jump into wild, fun, crazy projects. Because a lot of the time too, those projects just are riskier, right? Like if we're looking at the risk factor, but they're so much more fun.
Yeah, they do make a lot of money too. And so I feel like you have to have, like, a lot of people now ask me, because we just closed, they'll say, should I just buy a boutique hotel? And I'm like, no. Because the problem is like, if you don't know how to underwrite a deal and you buy a deal that's $3 million, then your mistakes in your underwriting are going to be magnified times 10.
Yes.
If you don't know how to manage a $50,000 construction project, try managing $1 million construction project. Mm-hmm. And so like my thing is always like, build your boring baseline and buy boring real estate in areas where properties are very affordable and you can afford to make mistakes. Yeah. Your mistake on a $100,000 property, give or take maybe $10,000. But if you have a $3 million property, like your mistakes can swing a couple $100,000, and that can be very devastating for people who aren't like financially prepared to take that risk.
Totally. No, I 100% agree. And it's so funny though, because I would say like, while you do have that like side of you that is very much like, let's mitigate risk, let's really like do this systematically. You also have this side of you that it's like, you didn't get to the point where you completely replaced your day job, right? With the income from your properties or maybe from your other businesses potentially. But like, I was kind of at that same situation where I just believed in myself so hard, right? That I could do that jump, but I don't think it's for everyone. So I guess who would you recommend like quits their day job and like goes all in on real estate investing and entrepreneurship versus like building up a baseline or building up or replacing your income fully? Like what advice would you give to someone?
Mm-hmm. Entrepreneurship definitely isn't for everybody. It's like the stat that's like how many small businesses fail is crazy. But I feel like I built my business for a year and a half before I was like, okay, I'm ready. Mm-hmm. But I had sort of a track record of like, this is how much I can bring in from coaching. Like, this is how much I can bring in from Instagram brand partnerships. And like, mm-hmm. This is how much I can bring in from flipping a rental property. And like, honestly, flipping a rental property or not a rental property, flipping a flip, like a house, you could make like whatever, $30,000, $40,000 in one flip. And so I'm like, okay, well, worst case scenario, I know how to flip a house. I just have to flip 2 and have them go relatively well. Maybe flip 3, one's a mistake and 2 are okay. Like I felt so confident that I knew how to make money if push came to shove. Yeah. And so I had a huge reserve account where I was like, this could pay because I was living super cheap for at least an entire year of my living expenses before I had to go back. I was willing to put in like whatever it took. I had like 18 months of like, I did the thing, I built the thing, and I was very confident in my ability to actually make money. So I feel like that was it for me, is like, I knew that if it came to it, I could take on a couple, one-on-one coaching students and help them out or something. And so I think that that's kind of what it is people jump too fast into trying to quit their job, or they quit their job thinking that real estate is going to replace their income. But then an AC goes out and you have to pay $4,000 to get it replaced. And they're like, whoop, there's my cash flow for the month. Yep. And so I feel like that's maybe the other thing is a lot of people, especially because they're younger. It's like, I was 23 when I retired and quit my job. I feel like say retire right. Because the reality is like, yes, your cash flow supplements your income, but you don't really actually retire. You just find a more enjoyable way to make money that aligns with the things that you want to do. Totally. So one of my friends says like, why do we want passive income, Brian Lubin, when we don't want a passive life? So I would rather spend, like, that's why his whole big push is toward building passionate income. And that's kind of what I see this hotel as, is it will make a lot of money. And it's a great, I'm glad that my passion projects are very profitable as well. But I think that's kind of what it allows me to do, is work on more passionate projects and not just like more so the boring real estate, which is great too.
Totally. I know so I still like to this day don't touch my rental income. Like I try to just like let it build up on top of itself. Like it's another nest egg. And if anything, I'll probably use some of it to buy another property later down the line. But for me, it's like, if I can support my lifestyle with active income that I freaking love and have that income literally actually be passive and build its own nest egg passively, that's what I'm going to do. And I think a lot of people do kind of get into that, okay, well, I want to actually live off of that income, which honestly, there are some people who do that. You just have to, it's a bigger nest, right? Because
you gotta go out. And you gotta have a pretty big like OpEx account to pay for big things that come up. And so I'm in the same boat as you, but I think it's because we are like relatively young.
Yeah.
And like, I think the goal is to never retire because I love my life so much.
I agree.
That's kind of how I see it. And so if I can again, like live off of my active income and again, reinvest my passive income, I'm all for it.
No, I love that. And so another thing I want to touch on is, so you talked about how you lived really frugally for a long time. You might still be living frugally. I don't know. But, you know, you rent the place that you live in. So, but you own 45 units, right? So tell me, why do you rent the place that you live in right now?
Partially it's because the places I want to live are very expensive. So like, and I'm not talking like $1 million. I'm talking like $4 million. And so like, it's, if I were to buy a property, I feel like I could not in good feelings buy a property that did not turn into a decent investment. And to do that, I'd probably have to buy a property in like a class B minus area that I felt was going to turn into a class A area in the near-ish future. Honestly, even like 10 years. But that means that in the next 5 years, I have to live in a class B minus area that I don't really want to live in, because then I would that's eventually I'd make a couple $100,000, but I would be living in a place I didn't really want to live.
Yeah.
And so why not just rent a property for $3,000 in downtown where I really want to rent and live and like have the lifestyle I want, and also have the flexibility to pick up and move. So I have another place in Palm Springs that I'm renting as well, because we're like renovating the hotel. But for example, our AC went out the day that I left, and it was great because I called the landlord and said, any chance you can get it fixed before I get back? That would be great. And so I'm not having to I think it's maybe just a me thing, but I think it makes me feel more comfortable that I know that my money is working for me, and I get to live where I want to live. So
totally.
That's sort of the gist of it.
Yeah. And I think a reminder there too is like, if you have the income to support that, right? Like, so you've got a few businesses under your belt, you're like doing pretty well. I think, you know, what some people kind of get into like trouble with, and I know this was me when I first graduated college, I was like, I'm done with college. I'm starting a 6-figure job. I'm going to get a really nice apartment in downtown. And I'm like spending all this money, but it's not like I have investments under my belt. It's not like I'm saving any money. So I think it's like, depending on where you're at in your investment journey, in your income journey, that's when you can really start to like play that game of like, okay, well, does it make sense for me to go live in a B class or C class area versus like living somewhere that I really, really enjoy? But if you're in those early stages of, you know, you said that for your first property, you went and lived in it for a bit, like slept on the floor. And it's like, sometimes you do have to make those sacrifices, but you're making those sacrifices as well so that later down the line, you can really like live the life that you want to live.
I put in my time. I would say, no, I still live like fairly frugally, I would say, just because I feel like so much of my income I put toward investing. And I think that it'll be an interesting switch when I finally almost like give myself permission to spend more of my money. And it's like it's an interesting like problem to have, because I grew up in high school, like saving every single penny and like sharing a bowl of the soup with my friend, like just with an extra bowl on the side, just because but that's what allowed me to buy my first property. And that's what allowed me to scale my portfolio. And now I just take a lot of what I make and I put it back into investing into more properties.
Yeah.
So that me in 30 years from now will have been so stoked that like I built this foundation, and I will have probably more money than I know what to do with. But today, like I still don't live that much differently. Like I don't go buy designer bags. Like I don't really do that. Like, but the reason why, honestly, is because my friends don't care about that stuff.
Right. and I don't know, I think everyone picks and chooses what they spend money on at the end of the day. So like, for example, I'm also not a designer girly. My mom loves designer stuff. She's like always, she wants to buy me like fancy stuff because she loves that. And that was like the first thing she ever would purchase for herself whenever she had money. But like, that's just not my thing. But I know for me, I can be a little bougie when I travel, and I like to do some like crazy experiences that may cost a pretty penny every once in a while. So I think it's like, it's that intentional spending, right? It's like, okay, if you're going to spend money, make sure you're spending it on something you actually want to spend it on versus something you think you're supposed to spend it on. Like I remember when I was getting started, like getting ready to buy my first property, I stopped eating out because honestly, I don't really like eating out that much. Like I go because my friends go and it's like what you do. But part of me moving to Colorado was like, I don't like that every activity back where I used to live in New Orleans was just eating out and drinking out. Like I don't really drink anymore. I don't like eating out that much. It's fine. It can be fun, but I'd rather do an activity like go hiking and stuff. So I think it's like really getting honest with yourself and like, what do you even want to actually be spending your money on? And the things you don't, stop spending money on.
I'm a sort of bougie travel person too.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And like, I do like eating nice food occasionally, but for the occasional thing, you know, it's not like I feel like I will Trader Joe's shop for most of the month. And then it's like, all right, let's try a new restaurant type of thing. But back in the day, like I wasn't like that at all. Like it would be like, we're living off of $100 this month and I'm going to live in this smallest shoebox I can find because I'm going to save all of my money for like investing. And most people have to go through that unless they're already established and have a lot of money. I think a lot of the people I talk to are maybe my age, maybe a little younger, maybe a little older, maybe have kids and are like not rolling in money.
Right.
And so it's really determining like, what are you willing to give up to make your goals happen? And I think that it's really difficult because when a lot of people look at what they have to give up to make it happen, they're like, actually, I don't want it that bad anymore. And that's the really challenging part is like why I tell people to really like where there is pain, there is transformation. But where there is not enough pain, nothing happens. Like good becomes just good. Yeah. So I think that's like like as much as I don't wish that people were in more pain, like I really feel like if they kind of dug in to more of their whys and like where they want to go and what happens if they don't get there, how disappointed would they feel? Like if they could really find that strong enough why, they would really persist through some of the things in the short term that would allow them to make their life in 10 years better.
No, yeah. I always say that it's like, you're probably just not hurting enough, which it sucks though. And I'm like, one of my missions is to figure out like, how do we get more people to do the thing that they actually want to do without having to get to the point where you're like hurting? Because it's usually some big transformation, right? Where you lost your job or someone died or all, and it's like, can we like make change without having to go through catastrophe?
It's kind of like the carrot or the stick equation thing. It's like, if you had to pay $100 every time you didn't work out in a day, like, would you work out? Probably. Yeah. But if someone said, I will give you something material every time you worked out, like I'll give you a bracelet every time you worked out, you'd be like,
I know. I feel targeted right now because I'm like I've been traveling for so long. Like I've been nomadic for a year and a half and finally, I'm like settling. I'm literally not traveling all summer. I'm so excited about it, enjoying the outdoors and getting back into working out. But literally this morning, I was like, do I go on a run? Do I go on? And I'm like sitting in bed, like go on a run.
And I found the most effective thing, like I used to do this with some of my friends, is like, it has to be a payment that is like painful to you. So like, if I do not do this, I will give you $500.
Yeah.
And then like, you will not do.
No, you're getting up and doing that.
And so I saw this one person and I thought like, and this is effective for, I know like we're talking about working out, but like this could also be effective if you're thinking about like a no spend day or doing the things, the hard work to actually buy a rental property. Like I'm going to analyze 3 or 4 deals a day. I'm going to put in an offer a week. And so this guy went to his closet and he had $100 bills hanging from his calendar for every single day. And he said, it's either you work out or you burn $100.
Yeah, I love that.
Burn it. And like, but like he never missed a day of working out. And so I almost think like, that's kind of how I used my Instagram is like public accountability, almost like public shame, just because I felt that like I had told my audience that I was going to do something. And because I like to live with integrity, I was like, I cannot imagine coming back to them. Not that they actually probably really cared, but like internally, I was like, I can't imagine coming back to them and say I didn't do it. Like I was a fraud. I didn't do what I said I was going to do. And so I kind of used like posting on Instagram as a way to put my message out there and tell people what I was doing. Because there's this really crazy stats about like just telling someone what you want to do increases your odds of success by at least like 50%.
Yeah.
And then if you have like an accountability appointment with somebody, like your odds of actually doing it is like 90%. And so to me, like I treated my my Instagram as a like an accountability appointment with myself, but also with my followers. And if I said I was going to do something, I was going to do it. And that's really what helps me sort of take action. So you got to figure out, is it a reward? Maybe, maybe not. Most people I feel like are more stick people than carrot people. Is it paying someone an amount of money? Is it publicly putting your goal online? Like something that's going to force you to do the thing that you don't want to do, because like honestly, doing the thing is kind of hard. Yeah. And everything in your body, your time, and your mind is going to tell you that you don't have time to do it, and you just need to like make time to do it.
Totally. So I guess quick question for you. What is your why? Like for investing, for the business, like what is your why?
It's changed honestly throughout the years. I think like deep down how I was raised was in a family of like very financially insecure. And so I feel like from that perspective, my base level of why I do it is to never feel financially insecure like I did when I was a kid. So that's like probably the maybe the more primal answer. So why I'm doing it, I think like today I do it and I continue to do it because I desire to live a life where I get to work on projects that excite me with people that I love. And so like that's really the check marks of will I take on a project or not? Like am I excited by this project? And am I working with someone who I really enjoy? Yeah. And I think that can be sort of the way that I make decisions in life. Like that will open up opportunities of a really, really exciting life that's above and beyond the scarcity mindset of like, am I going to be okay? Like, can I pay my bills? I think that's a very like level one, again, like scarce mindset to have. And the more like abundant version of that is like, can I be so successful that I get to say yes to projects that excite me and only work with people I enjoy?
Love that. Well, Soli, this has been amazing. I just want to hop into the last 3 interview questions that I ask every single person that comes on the Wanderlust Wealth Show. So number 1, what does your ideal perfect day look like?
That's a tough one. I mean, I have tried to do like my vivid vision where you're supposed to like vividly describe your perfect day. Yeah. And so I can tell you like my vivid vision, I wake up at a beachfront house with my coffee machine in my room. And then I make myself a latte, go to the outside to the patio and go watch the ocean. But honestly, I mean, there's so many variations. Like I feel like my ideal life would have a bunch of variation in a day. It would probably not start before 9 a.m. I used to be the person who, not me, like I wake up before them, but work doesn't start. Because I used to be the person who like opened my laptop and like, let's go. And I would be stressed out, especially when I managed construction on the East Coast. Gosh, that was stressful. As I'm on the West Coast. So it's more so like a slow morning where it's like you talk to your kids, you talk to your husband, like, how's your day? Like, let's bake something fun. And like really relax into and then like having like almost like a team where I know that they are handling stuff. And so I have like an executive assistant who tells me what I have to do for the day type of thing. And then I get my stuff done and then I like shut my computer at 5 p.m. and I cook dinner and go work out. Like, honestly, it sounds so like very mundane, but
no, I think like that's perfect. Because like, I think that's what people don't realize, right? Like we glamorize the trips and the like being financially free and all of that. But like at the end of the day, most people just want like an enjoyable, like easy day, not easy day necessarily, but like an enjoyable day that they don't feel stressed out the entire day. They're maybe working on something that they love. They're just hanging around the people that they enjoy. But like most people just want simple things in life.
And the traveling is fun. Like I do love traveling, but it's in terms of like an everyday thing. Like I think I used to think that I was a crazy traveler. Like I went traveling for 6 months and I was like, I'm good. Like that was a lot. And so I think I'm more of like have a beautiful home that I feel so inspired by and that I don't feel like I need to take a vacation from, and then take really fun, like 1 to 2 week vacations to go explore the world. But
I love
then
that.
Feel stoked to come back to the home that I created.
I love that. And I feel like I'm in the middle where it's like I travel quite a bit, but I also love having, like, I love my home and I love creating beautiful spaces, especially when it is my home. So I'm like, I teeter in between both. Okay, second question. What is your mantra?
Just do it.
Yes.
I steal it from Nike. I had to think about that a little bit. But I think people always think about like, they just get so stuck in analysis paralysis. And I feel like my whole life has been like a jump and figure it out. Jump with a parachute. Like there's a way out if you need it. But like more times than not, you can find somebody who can show you how to do it, or you can read a book that teaches you how to do it. Or if you're smart and resourceful, you can just figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
So I think that it's totally like, just get out of your head and just like jump.
Love that. Okay, last question. What does wealth mean to you?
Again, I think that like the base level of like not having to worry about money is like one, base level of it. But I also think it is more so about optionality of your time and the ability to say no.
Yeah.
So no to whatever you don't want to work on. No, just because you don't want to be there. And just being able to like dictate where, because I think that when you think about it, like time is much more valuable than money. There is so much money in the world. Money is so abundant. And I think, skill and time become much more valuable. And the more older you get, the less time you have. Mm-hmm. So really being intentional about where you spend your time, with the caveat of like, you are thriving financially and you don't have to like worry about buying the bag if you want it. I think that's kind of like, I'm not looking at the price tags, but really it's more so I'm in control of my time.
Love that. Well, Soli, this was phenomenal. I know it's going to inspire so many. So what is the best way that people can reach out to you or maybe follow your journey, especially with the boutique hotel, which I'm so excited to follow along on?
Yeah, Instagram. Instagram's the best place. It's where I started and where honestly, the only place I'm at right now. Much to my sadness, because I would love to. It's other platforms are so complicated to learn. But yes, Lattes and Leases. That's lattes.and.leases, because I love coffee and I love real estate. So we combined the two things and we made that name, and it's still my name today.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. This was fabulous.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for listening to Wanderlust Wealth Show. Now, don't forget to follow the podcast, or if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you love this episode, it would literally mean the world to me if you shared this with a friend or a family member, or literally like anyone off of the street. Like right now, go ahead, share it so you don't forget, or post it on social media and make sure to tag me. I love seeing what you're listening in on and what you resonated with, and I'm just so freaking thankful for you. I'm so freaking excited for you. I love you. And don't forget, life really doesn't have to be hard.